I would not touch these tropes with a 10-foot pole. Fantasy found families hit so much harder than like romance found families, and you can quote me on that. Back in my Wattpad days though, I did thoroughly enjoy this trope, but I think as my frontal lobe is developing, it's just not for me anymore. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is super fun, which is ranking your guys' favorite book tropes. So a few days ago, I asked you guys on my bookstagram, currently dog-rebooked, what your favorite book tropes are, and I compiled them all into a list so we can rank them today. I just want to start off this video with a quick disclaimer, and that is just because I might not like a trope that you love doesn't mean that I am hating on you as a reader or think you are less than. Everyone is welcome to their own opinions. Reading is such a personal experience. Everyone is allowed to have their own preferences, likes, dislikes. So I just want to reiterate the fact that this is a judgment-free zone. And yeah, so let's get into it. So starting off, I'm just going to explain each of my tiers and what they mean to me. So on the bottom, we have burn them at the stake. These are tropes that I hate. I just don't like them. They are not my cup of tea. I don't vibe with them. Please get them away from me. I would not touch these tropes with a 10-foot pole. Next we have, if they're done well, I can tolerate them. These are book tropes that I might not necessarily like, but there are a few books out there that do them well, and actually I do enjoy. So it's just kind of like, okay, I like them sometimes. Sometimes, if they're really done well. The middle rank is, I don't love these tropes, but I don't hate them. These are tropes that I don't have any strong feelings against. Like, if they're in a book, they're not going to deter me from reading the book, and I'm not going to really sought out books with this trope. The second highest rank we have is, I do like these tropes. So these are tropes that I actively enjoy. I might seek these out once in a while, things like that. And then the top rank is the loves of my life, aka top tier tropes. These are tropes that I actively go after again and again, and they are my ride or dies when it comes to reading. So now that we have that all out of the way, let's start ranking these book tropes. So starting off, the first trope we have is the one bed trope. Ooh, this is a good trope. I'm gonna say I do enjoy this book trope, mainly because I love the angst and like tension it creates. Like, a book that comes to mind is The Ballad of Never After. There is a one bed trope in that, and I just ate it up. The Spanish Love Deception also has a one bed trope, and even though I didn't like that book, I did like the addition of the one bed trope. Again, it just like complicates things, and I love it when a book has drama. Next up, we have forced proximity. Ooh, okay.
5 hours later.
I'm gonna put forced proximity in, I do like this trope. It's not going into love of my life because I feel like forced proximity, it's not like the main trope. It is like the like equivalent of a side. Like, it is just like there to accentuate the entree, I guess. But nonetheless, it is still delicious. I still eat it up every single time like I do actual sides. I don't know where that analogy came from, but it does do a good job of portraying how I feel about it, so I'm not gonna knock it off. I'm not going to hate on it. The next trope we have is enemies to lovers, and if you are a frequent watcher of my videos, you know that without a doubt, this is going the love of my lives, aka top tier tropes, because I love enemies to lovers. Like, it is probably my favorite book trope out there. Now, would I ever want a enemies to lovers romance for myself? No, because I would actually cry if someone was mean to me. But for my fictional girlies, my fictional characters out there, I do love a good enemies to lovers trope. Again, I just love the drama that ensues from enemies to lovers. I love the tension and the angst. It is just always a good trope. Now, does the enemies to lovers trope have to do it well? Yes, obviously. But I honestly haven't met an enemies to lovers trope that I haven't enjoyed. So the next trope we have is when they write letters / emails to each other. I do really, really enjoy this trope. Even though I don't go actively searching for it, I do always enjoy that aspect of the book. I think it just adds something to the characters and like the relationship that they share, especially if it's like anonymous letters or something like that. Like, the books that come to mind are Divine Rivals. They write letters to one another and it's anonymous, and it's just like literal perfection because they're essentially anonymous pen pals, and it's just so good. But also the non-anonymous, like where they're just writing notes to one another, I think is really done well in Yours Truly. Again, it just like adds something to the story. So because of that, I think I'm gonna put it in. I do like these tropes. I do enjoy it. So next up we have second chance romance. I love a good second chance romance. I'm trying to think if there's a time where I didn't like a second chance romance, but I do enjoy it. So I think I'm gonna put it in Love of My Life. Like, it is just a solid, good trope, and I eat it up every single time. So the next trope we have is single parent. I think I'm putting it in the middle category. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I don't actively go searching for a single parent trope, but I don't actively avoid the book if it has this trope in it. Now, do I like and enjoy books that have the single parent? Yes, but again, it's just not a trope that I actively go looking for. Next up, we have brother's best friend. Ooh. Okay, I do think I like the brother's best friend trope. I do. I enjoy it quite a bit. However, best friend's brother, I think it has to be done well. Just because I don't think I've really read a lot of books with this trope. And I think, I don't know. I don't really feel any... I guess maybe it needs to go, and I don't love these tropes, but I don't hate it. I don't actively seek out this book, but I don't hate it. I guess I don't feel very strongly about it. I don't know. So the next trope is billionaire. I think I'm putting it in the middle. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I think it's kind of, at this point, a little bit overdone. Yeah. Like, I love the fact that he can buy the main female character things and, like, can spoil her, because I do love a good gift-giving love language. But yeah, I don't really often think about this trope. But again, I'm not going to actively not read a book because of this trope. It's just like how it is. Next up, we have opposites attract. Ooh, I don't know how I feel about this book, or this trope, sorry. I think I'm gonna put it in, I don't love, but I don't hate. On the top of my head, I honestly can't think of a book that has this trope. Is that bad? I don't know. Okay, this might be a controversial opinion, but Friends to Lovers, if they're done well, I can tolerate it. When I think about this trope, I always think about People We Meet on Vacation, mainly because it was the first book that I read with this trope, and I just hated it. Like, I didn't like it at all. I think Alex and Poppy's friendship dynamic is so toxic, and I think that they emotionally cheat on their partners with each other, and I just don't stand for that. I just don't like it. I feel like in real life, Friends to Lovers makes sense. Like, it makes sense to me. But in books, I feel like it always comes off just a little bit toxic and a little bit, like, just not well. I don't know. It always just rubs me the wrong way. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Their friendship always kind of, like, oversteps boundaries, and I am not for that. So because of that, I'm putting it, if they're done well, I can tolerate it. Because I do like some Friends to Lovers books, but again, it's like something that the book has to overcome. I have to like other aspects of the book to enjoy it, not just the book trope. Okay, next up we have fake dating. Fake dating used to be one of my favorite tropes ever, I'm not gonna lie. However, it has gone to the point where it is really, really overdone. And because of that, I'm just gonna say I like this trope, but it is not my top tier trope. I think I've read so many fake dating tropes that it's kind of become oversaturated to me. Unfortunately, a little bit of too much of a good thing kind of ruins it, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. I do like it, but it's not my favorite trope anymore. It's not one of my favorites. Small town romance. Ooh. I'm gonna put it in I like. I like a good small town romance. I think it's fun. It's something cute. It kind of reminds me of Gilmore Girls, especially if it's something like that. Up next, we have childhood friends to lovers. So to me, childhood friends to lovers is a lot different than friends to lovers. Friends to lovers kind of like insinuates that they became friends later in life, whereas childhood friends is that they grew up with one another. And I do actually like childhood friends to lovers. I like Every Summer After, Love in Other Words, like those kind of books, because it makes sense like why you haven't dated each other yet, if that makes sense, because you did grow up with one another and there is like history there. Whereas like friends to lovers, I'm like, just date already. Like you guys are grown adults, just date. Next up, we have bully romance. So at first glance, I was gonna put this in Burn Them at the Stake. However, I have recently read a bully romance that I enjoyed, which was Things I Wanted to Say. Now granted, this book is not for everyone. It is very trigger warning, like heavy. It's very dark. It's a very dark romance, and there are some things that like did rub me the wrong way, but like overall I did enjoy it. So I'm gonna put it in if they're done well, I can tolerate it. I think bully romances are just like, you're kind of just reading it for the vibe. You're just kind of like, you know what you're in for. Like they're gonna be a little bit mean to each other. I don't know. Sometimes I'm in a good headspace for it. Sometimes I'm not. It just depends. Next up, we have slow burn. So, ooh. I think slow burn is one of my love of my lives. I love a good slow burn. I think throughout my reading journey and experience, I have grown a deep love of slow burn. Like I appreciate it more than I did when I first started reading. I definitely was super impatient when I was just starting out in my reading journey, but like over the years, I have really liked the fact that like characters don't get with each other in like the first couple of chapters. I want the yearning, I want the tension, I want the angst. Like it just adds so much to a book. So next up we have Forbidden Love. I think I'm gonna put it in I do like this trope, or maybe I should put it if it's done well. But see, I don't hate this trope, but I can hate it if it's not done well. This is a conundrum. What am I gonna do? I think I'm just gonna put it in I do like it. I like it. Like I enjoy a good forbidden love. I like, again, the tension, the drama. Like, come on. Okay, the next trope we have is marriage of convenience. Ooh, okay. I think I'm gonna put it in Love of My Life. I do love a good marriage of convenience. I think it's just so fun. I also think it's kind of like a play on enemies to lovers. Most of the time they like don't enjoy each other or don't like each other. So you kind of have that animosity from enemies to lovers. And then over time, because they're like forced to be with each other and like forced to interact with each other, they develop like an understanding or a friendship almost, and I do enjoy that. Found family, this is a no-brainer. This is going in Love of My Life. I love a good found family. I think it just adds so much to a book when the side characters and the main characters all have this like fun family dynamic. I also love the fact that it like also like feeds into that saying where you get to choose your family. I just eat that up every single time. Fantasy found families hit so much harder than like romance found families, and you can quote me on that. He Falls First. Ooh, okay. Is this the love of my life, or is this just I like it? I think it's going to go in I do like it, because I don't actively look for He Falls First, but again, it's like a nice little bonus when it happens. I don't know. So next up we have He's Only Sweet to Her. Ooh, okay. I think I'm gonna put this in I don't love these tropes, but I don't hate it. I feel like sometimes He's Only Sweet to Her kind of comes off that he's like a jerk. to everyone but her. And when the main character is kind of like awful to everyone else, it's hard to enjoy him. Like, it's hard to like the main male character when he's an asshole to everyone but her. Like, it's nice sometimes in a book if it's done well, but sometimes it just like reads like he's an asshole. Like, what do you see in him, Miss Girl? The next trope we have is touch her and die. I think I'm gonna put this, if it's done well, I can tolerate it. Again, I think it's kind of come to the point where this trope is so overdone that it kind of comes off cheesy. And because it comes off cheesy, sometimes it's hard to like be like, yeah, go get him, and like get in that mindset when it's like so odd. Like, for instance, in Once You're Mine, this is like a stalker romance, and he's a lawyer and she's like a politician's daughter, and he like actively beats up someone and like insults him and like threatens him, and it's like, if you touch her again, like I'm gonna kick your ass and blah 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 blah. And I'm just like sitting there like, bro, you're like a literal lawyer. Like, you sit at a desk job. It's not like you're some like scary mafia man. Like, you are a lawyer. Like, oh my gosh, like you should just beat him up with your words. Like, do a deposition or something. Like, oh my gosh, speaking of stalker romances, He's Her Stalker is the next book trope. I think this is gonna be our first one for Burn Them at the Stake. I don't think I've read a stalker romance that I've like actively enjoyed and would rave about. I read the Cat and Mouse duet and then Once You're Mine, that like duology, and I just like didn't really enjoy those books. I don't think it's because of the stalker romance. Like, there was a lot that I didn't like about those books, but because I haven't read a stalker romance that I've enjoyed, I think it's going to go in that ranking because I haven't read anything to change my opinion. You know, I haven't had a good experience yet. Oh my gosh, step siblings. Ooh, I'm putting this in Burn Them at the Stake. Now, actually, I'm not going to elaborate on this anymore. I'm just gonna burn it at the stake. Yeah, sorry, no explanation for that one. I don't really think I need to explain myself. Again, if you like the step sibling trope, all the more power to ya. I just can't bring myself to read something like that. Next up, we have Then and Now Timelines. I think I'm gonna put this in. I don't love this trope, but I don't hate it. I don't actively go searching for this trope, but again, I'm not going to not read a book because it has this trope. But I think my main issue with this trope is that I usually like one timeline more than the other. Like, what comes to mind is Nightbane by Alex Astor. It also has a Then and Now timeline, and I remember speed reading through the present timeline because I wanted to get to the past timeline. Like, yeah, I think that's why I'm putting it in the middle, because there's always a timeline that you like more. It's never like 50-50. Now, do I think it like adds a lot to the story? Yes, but it needs to be kind of done well, I think. Ooh, this might be a controversial opinion, but pregnancy trope, burn them at the stake. I don't think I have read a book where I have actively enjoyed the pregnancy trope. I know there are a few books out there that people rave about, like Out on a Limb and that one book from Chestnut Spring series, I think it's Reckless. They both have pregnancy tropes in it, and a lot of people in their reviews were like, I don't like the pregnancy trope, but I love it in this book. But I really haven't had that experience yet. I feel like the pregnancy trope is always an obstacle that I have to get over in a book. Like, I have to enjoy the characters and the plot enough, or even more so, to get over the fact that there is a pregnancy trope in this book. The one book that like comes to mind is the one from the Off-Campus series with Tucker and Sabrina. There's a pregnancy trope in that, and I love Tucker and Sabrina. Like, they are probably one of my favorite couples out of that series, but because there was a pregnancy trope, it just like low-key ruined it for me, but I stuck around because I liked the characters so much. Next up, we have Teacher Student. I think I'm putting it burn it at the stake. I just can't get behind this trope. It just like gives me an icky feeling. I also don't think I've actively read a whole book with this trope. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it at that. Back in my Wattpad days, though, I did thoroughly enjoy this trope, but I think as my frontal lobe is developing, it's just not for me anymore. Next up, we have Why Choose. I think I'm putting it, if it's done well, I can tolerate it. Some of the Why Choose romances that I've read have been by Lily Gold especially. I really like her Why Choose romances because she does a lot to differentiate the like male characters. But I have read a few Why Chooses where this isn't really done well and it kind of just feels like she's dating the same person but like in a different font. And yeah. Okay, the next trope does not need any explanation. It's cheating. That is burning them at the stake. No explanation needed. We're just gonna put her in there. Next up, we have age gap. I think I'm putting this, if they're done well, I can tolerate it. A book that does it well that first comes to mind is Part of My World. The main female character is older than the male main character, and I think Abby Jimenez does a great job of like not actively pointing out their age gap over and over again. I think the times that I have read a book with this trope that I didn't like, it's been when the guy is like 20 years older than the girl and she's actively like saying how much older he is and how much younger she is like every 5 seconds, that you just like can't get over the fact that they are so drastically like different in age. Again, I think it just has to be done well. I think the author has to really like balance the scale. If that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like I'm just rambling in this video, so I apologize, but I hope you're having fun. I'm having fun. But next up we have Insta Love. This is going burning them at the stake. I don't think I've ever read a book where I've enjoyed the Insta Love aspect. I think it's always, again, an obstacle that I have to get over in a book and have to like learn to love the book despite this trope. So because of that, it's going in burn them at the stake. Next up we have Friends with Benefits. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I think it's a trope that I used to read a lot of when I first started reading, but as I've kind of like developed as a reader and kind of learned my own preferences and tastes, I think I've been reading it less and less just because I hate all of the miscommunication that comes from Friends with Benefits. There's always that point of time when they both develop feelings for one another, but they just like don't want to tell each other because it will complicate everything. And because of that, I think I'm gonna burn it at the stake. I just don't think I'm a fan. I think at this point of time, I actively avoid this trope. So the next trope we have is roommates to lovers. I honestly don't know where to put this trope. I'm in between. I don't love this trope and I don't hate it, or I do like this trope because I do like it. Like, I don't hate it. But do I like it enough to like actively seek it out? I don't think so. I think it's just kind of like a fun bonus. So for that, I'm putting it in the middle. I have no strong feelings towards it. Okay, next up we have One Night Stand. Ooh, okay. I think I'm gonna put it in I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I feel like the one night stand trope is always like preliminary. Like, they had a one night stand and then all of a sudden she's working with him. Like, it kind of like adds tension and drama. And because of that, I'm gonna put it in I don't have that much strong feelings towards it because I don't hate it, but I don't love it. Next up, we have Secret Pining. Oh, okay. I think I'm gonna put it in if it's done well, I can tolerate it. Or do I like it? I don't know. Sometimes I like it, but sometimes it's just like annoying. Like, bro, just confess your feelings already. I think I'm gonna put it here. I think it needs to be done well. If it isn't done well, then I think it just comes off whiny and you're like, come on, like, just confess that you like each other already. Again, I think it comes with the whole like miscommunication trope. Like, just tell each other that you like each other already. It's not that hard. You're both grown adults. Use your big words. So we are finally down to our last two tropes. The next one is ex-boyfriend's dad. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've read a book with this trope. I just don't think it's for me. Like, I just never read anything about it. But then it's also like, if I have never read it, then who am I to rank it? Like, I don't know. I think I'm gonna put it at burn at the stake. I don't think I would ever read a book with it. I think I've actively avoided the ones, like, what's the one, Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I've, like, actively avoided that book because, one, I don't support Penelope Douglas, and two, I just think the premise is odd. But again, if you like this trope, more power to ya. And then the last trope of this video is fated mates. I think I'm gonna put it in if it's done well, I can tolerate it. I do enjoy fated mates, but again, it has to be done well in the way that I don't see it coming. I think the whole like fact that they're fated mates, it like is almost a surprise. It's like a climax. And if I can tell from like page 1 that these enemies to lovers are meant for each other, it just doesn't hit as hard. So because of that, I think it needs to be done well for me to enjoy it. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below what your favorite book trope is, what your least favorite book trope is. I would love to know. And yeah, make sure to subscribe for more videos, and I will see you soon. Bye!